I'd like to open our meeting and ask Joel if he would open our meeting with prayer.
Dear God, we come together as representatives of our county government, asking for your continued guidance and light so that we may act and respond as you would have us to do for the benefit of all our citizens. And we ask you to watch over our great county employee, Miss Serena Davis, and her family as they go through their period of mourning. We ask you to continue to provide us with opportunities. We give you all the praise and the glory for those. We ask for continued blessing to our staff, the citizens of this county, and the members of this council. These things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Watson. You got some, Jane?
Ginger.
Okay, Freedom of Information announcement in accordance with the South Carolina Code of Laws 1976. As amended, the Marion Star Mullins Enterprise has been notified of the date, time, place, and agenda of this meeting. Item 4, approval of minutes from March 14th.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion, second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. The ayes have it. At this time, we need to recess our regular meeting and open a public hearing. I need a motion.
Second.
Got a motion, got a second, any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, the ayes have it. We're now
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council, those in attendance. We have 4 items for public hearing this evening. Start with item A. This is for ordinance 2023-01, an ordinance authorizing the conveyance of a portion of county property located on Highway 41 in Marion County, shown and designated as tract 16, containing 0.159 acres. On Exhibit A attached to Tier 2 and made a part hereof to the South Carolina Department of Transportation for the expansion of the roadway over Maiden Down Swamp. Authorize the county council chairman or county administrator to execute such deed and the ratification thereof, and authorize all of the matters related thereto. Is there anybody in attendance that wishes to speak for or against this ordinance? Hearing none, I'll move on to item B. Ordinance 2023-02, an ordinance approving the conveyance of 501 East McIntyre Street, Mullins, South Carolina, shown as Marion County TMS numbers 412-04-01-000-000 and 047-00-00-169-000 back to Anderson Brothers Bank, pursuant to the terms of the reversionary provision contained in the deed to the county, because the property will not be used for an animal shelter. Is anybody in attendance that wish to speak for or against this ordinance? Hearing none, I'll move on to item C. Ordinance 2023-03, an ordinance to authorize and approve an agreement for the development of a joint industrial and business park by and between Marion County and Horry County, with property located in Horry County for the FedEx Ground Package System, Inc., George Bishop Parkway, Myrtle Beach, LLC, to require the payment of fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes by businesses and industries located in the park, to apply zoning and other laws in the park, to provide for law enforcement jurisdiction in the park, and provide for the distribution of park revenues within the county. Is anybody in attendance that wish to speak for or against this ordinance? Hearing none, I'll move on to item D. It's ordinance 2023-04, an ordinance to authorize and approve an agreement for the development of a joint industrial and business park by and between Marion County and Horry County, with property located in Horry County, Palmetto Coast Industrial Park, to require the payment of fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes by businesses and industries located in the park, to apply zoning and other laws in the park, provide for law enforcement jurisdiction in the park, and provide for the distribution of park revenues within the county. Anybody in attendance that wish to speak for or against this ordinance? Hearing none, that will conclude our necessity of a public hearing.
All right, this time we need to adjourn our public hearing and reconvene our regular meeting.
So move.
Motion.
Second.
Second. Discussion. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Opposed likewise, the ayes have it. Resolutions.
I'm not aware of anything we have.
Item 8, ordinances.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. I'll start with item A. This is third reading of ordinance 2023-01, an ordinance authorizing the conveyance of a portion of county property located off Highway 41 in Marion County, shown and designated as tract 16, containing 0.159 acres on Exhibit A attached here to and made a part hereof. To South Carolina Department of Transportation for the expansion of the roadway over Maiden Down Swamp, to authorize the county council chairman or county administrator to execute such deed for the ratification thereof, and to authorize all of the matters related thereto. You've had a full copy of this ordinance since second reading. We just take action on third reading, please.
What I hear from council.
So move. Second.
Got a motion, got a second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Opposed likewise, the ayes have it.
Item B, third reading of ordinance 2023-02, an ordinance approving the conveyance of 501 East McIntyre Street, Mullins, South Carolina, shown as Marion County TMS numbers 412-04-01-000-000 and 047-00-00-169-000 back to Anderson Brothers Bank, pursuant to the terms of the revisionary provision containing the deed to the county because the property will not be used for an animal shelter. You've had this copy of this ordinance since first reading. We need to take action on third reading, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Opposed likewise, the ayes have it.
Item C, third reading of ordinance 2023-03, an ordinance to authorize and approve an agreement for the development of a joint industrial and business park by and between Marion County and Horry County, with property located in Horry County. It's for the FedEx Ground Package Systems, Inc., George Bishop Parkway, Myrtle Beach LLC, to require the payment of fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes by businesses and industries located in the park, to apply zoning and other laws in the park, to provide for law enforcement jurisdiction in the park, and provide for the distribution of park revenues within the county. You've had that ordinance since second reading. When you take action on third reading, please.
So moved. Got a motion,
Second.
got a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Opposed likewise, the ayes have it.
Item D, third reading of ordinance 2023-04, an ordinance to authorize and approve an agreement for the development of a joint industrial and business park by and between Marion County and Horry County, with property located in Horry County, for Palmetto Coast Industrial Park, to require the payment of fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes by businesses and industries located in the park, to apply zoning and other laws in the park, to provide for law enforcement jurisdiction in the park, and provide for the distribution of park revenues within the county. You've had this ordinance since second reading. You take action on third reading, please.
So move.
Got a second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Opposed likewise, the ayes have it.
For item E, we have that one on hold until the April 11th meeting, I think it is, the first meeting in April, because we have to have the public hearing that evening before we can do third reading. So that takes us to item F. Just to remind you and those in attendance, our first readings do not require any discussion for the matter, just simply reading the title is sufficient. And it does not require a vote either. First reading of ordinance 2023-06, an ordinance amending ordinance 2021-04, entitled an ordinance to provide for the issuance and sale of not exceeding $3,365,000 general obligation bond of Marion County, South Carolina, to prescribe for the purposes for which the proceeds of said bond shall be expended, provide for the payment of said bond and other matters related thereto, to add additional uses of the proceeds of the general obligation bonds authorized thereunder and other matters related thereto. That's all I have.
All right, item 9, committee reports. Committee number 1 has no report at this time. Committee number 2,
No report this time, Mr. Chair.
our legal update.
I don't have anything in this section.
You joking? All All right, Miss Barbara Lamb, Animal Shelter Director, new animal shelter.
Talk about it was a figment of your imagination.
Oh.
Well, first, there are a lot of people that don't know of me. I'd like to give you a little background. I started working at the Marion Animal Hospital in 2001, and I became the liaison to the shelter and the euthanasia technician for the shelter. And that was 19 years doing that. And I watched the shelter grow, not necessarily in the right direction, but we're taking on more and more animals. When I used to go back at the beginning, it was just the tobacco shed there. And I would go once a week and put 30 to 40 animals asleep a week. And then as they changed managers and things like that, things got better, animals got a better chance. They started working with rescues. And the internet can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing, but it helped us get animals out to homes instead of to the landfill. But we have outgrown what we have, and it's falling apart. I'm keeping it together with duct tape and zip ties. And we have jumped from taking, well, I just have the last 3 years, 2020 up till 2022. We've gone from taking in 1,377 animals. 2001, it was 1,600 animals. And this year, we still have 3 months left. We're at 953 animals. And our adoptions are doing better. We're adopting more out. And our rescues have jumped tremendously. In 2020, it was 242 animals went to rescue. In 21, 585, and so far we've done for this year 304. And that's considerable considering how many shelters and rescues are full. You know, we have worked on getting a large base of rescues up and down the East Coast and getting them transported. And we worked really hard so that we could turn the animals over faster. But the conditions of the shelter do cause some issues. For one thing, the water coming from the prison farm, people cannot drink it. It has toxicity in it. And that is something that just grows in water that sits tepid or gets hot. And the way they did the water system there, the pipes are not deep enough to keep the water cool. So these little buggers grow in it. And that's what we're giving to the dogs, which is making them sick, which costs more medication. But the people that work out there have to drink bottled water. Just ask the guys at the prison farm, I'll tell you. We also, the kennels themselves are rusting out and falling apart. And we're constantly replacing them or patching them. But the dogs find new ways to get through or grab somebody's ear or somebody's tail. And we're doing more veterinary expenditures because of animals being injured. Basically, we can't keep it clean because it's just not set up right. The shelter that we want to do is an indoor-outdoor shelter, which means we can lock them outside, clean the inside, and then let them back in and clean the outside. That way, we're not blasting the dogs with bleach or water or getting it all over the people that are trying to do the cleaning. It's a much safer way to do it for everybody, including the animals. I don't know if any of you have been out to the shelter. I know a few of you have, but there's very poor drainage out there. Some of the setup of runs don't even have drainage. You go straight into the dirt. And that's not good. We work to use things that emulsify the feces and so forth to try and cut down on flies and the smell. The guys pick up the hard products every day, but they have to dump it into the septic tank. I have to have that pumped out about every 6 weeks. Otherwise, it gets rock hard because of the weight of the water. The old horseshoe that's been there for, I know, 20 years, it's probably longer than that. It is riddled with termites and rats. And they are digging out from underneath it. I'm basically waiting for it to sink into a sinkhole. So we desperately need to improve the situation, not just for the animals, but for the people. And just to show the public that we take care of our animals, we take care of our people, we take care of our old people, we take care of our children. We need to take care of our animals too. We're working on spay neuter programs to cut down on the excess amount of puppies and stray dogs running around. We're doing the same thing with the cats. We're doing TNR. Our 501(c)(3) SOS pays for that. They have gotten some grants to help us get these cats fixed. If their people want them back, we give them back. If they don't want them back, we find new colonies for them. They do help keep down the rats and the snakes and things like that. Dog colonies unfortunately do not work. They end up packing. And you end up having them cause problems with chasing smaller animals, chasing children. Mullins has a real problem with that. That is on my 5-year plan, is to get control of that situation and get the feral dogs under control, so they're not out there breeding and they're not out there chasing people. But I have to have some place to go to them, at least until our stray hold is up, whatever the plan that is, 5 days, 10 days, or 15 days. So that's a space we're still in the dark ages as far as our shelter is concerned. And Marion is better than that. And people care and they want to do something about it. We created the 501(c)(3) to help us raise money to offset what the county needs to pay. We're looking for grants out in the national arena where there's people out there that will help shelters like us. We're applying for those kind of grants because it's not going to be cheap, and that's nobody's fault except the pandemic, because prices have gone so high. The shelter that I showed you the pictures of at the last meeting is basically a bare bones. There's nothing exotic about it, nothing crazy, nothing ostentatious. It's just what we basically need to take care of the needs of the animals. So that's about it. Anybody have any questions? Want to ask?
Question?
Got a question, though. Chair. Barbara, do you know how much the county spends at the animal hospital per year?
Yeah, there was 3, now there's 2. I have here for
There was three what, Laura?
3 animal hospitals until Marion closed down.
Okay,
And but for 2022 fiscal year, we spent $34,891.
Say that again.
$34,891.31. Now, we do recoup some of our money. We charge for our adoptions. We get donations from generous people. We get memorial donations. The city of Mullins and the city of Marion also pay us a strip for the use of the shelter.
Okay. Thank you.
So what were your revenues?
I'm sorry,
What were your revenues?
let me see, for 2022 was $109,254.22.
And what is the name of the 501(c)(3)?
It's support our shelter. And for short, it's SOS. And they've been very handy when I haven't been able to get the Tractor Supply Park or food or something else. That I can call Phyllis and say, can I get this? And she
And
tells me to go for it.
who is the registered agent for that 501(c)(3)?
That's Phyllis Rhodes. She's the president.
About there.
What's the current number of animals you have in the shelter?
Right. Let's see, I think they said today it was 80 dogs and 50 cats. We just sent out a big transport last week of about 22 animals,
How often do you do that?
as often as we can. I mean, we stay late. Matter of fact, I just had one Friday that we had to be at Bucky's at 4 o'clock in the morning with 8 animals. And that was an employee that did that. We've all driven places. I've been to West Virginia, I've been to Rhode Island. Get volunteers that drive for us. So it's, you know, you can send them out on a plane. We sent 13 out on a plane up north to Pennsylvania.
How big is your staff?
I have myself, my assistant, and then a part-time person. And then right now I have 3 trustees. That count varies.
How many volunteers do you usually have over there?
I'd say right now I probably have about 6 that I can depend on.
in this 5-year plan that you have,
Mhm.
have you submitted that to anyone?
No, I haven't had time to sit down and type it out.
That's all of my questions.
Well, it's not falling on deaf ears. You can believe you got. some
I know it's not, and
Supporters on
we've
this.
been working on this, I was working on this 10 for 2 years. And, but it's just getting to the point where I can't fix it anymore. We're just, it's, we're throwing money down the drain.
We're gonna do something. Cars.
What's your current kill rate?
Current kill rate. So far for this year, it's 362. A lot of that is cats with panleukopenia, parvo, and heartworms.
That's this year, just this year?
Yeah, that's so far the fiscal year,
Oh, okay.
fiscal year. But it's a lot of it is illnesses out in the, like with the cats, it's the panleukopenias in the community. Collections, and when they come in, they're, we can't let them pass it on to other cats. In dogs, we have a real problem with parvo coming in from the stray dog puppies and things like that. And no matter how hard you try to keep clean, somebody passes it somehow. It's just really hard out there. To keep things sterile.
Any other questions? Thank you, Barbara. We appreciate you coming.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it always. And I have a copy if anybody wants it when I get done.
Attorney Ziegler. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council. It's always a pleasure to be here in Marion. See a few familiar faces. I see a few faces I don't know. I know you've got some new council members since I was last year with you. My name is Ben Ziegler. I'm a lawyer with the law firm of Kingsford, Central, Lloyd, and Florence. We've had the good fortune to represent the county for a number of years. Whenever y'all go out and do a debt transaction, I specialize in municipal bond law. My job is to make sure when y'all go out and borrow money, you do it lawfully in compliance with state and federal law, and work with your staff to make sure it's the most efficient and flexible structure that you can have to get the capital, particularly capital projects you need to have done, accomplished. I've enjoyed getting to know Ms. Watford over the past few weeks. Worked for years with Mr. Harper. Sorry to see him go, but I think you've got a great replacement. Of course, Mr. McLean and I have worked together for years. I spoke with Ms. Watford a couple of weeks ago about some capital needs that y'all have. There was an interest in going out and financing a few projects, and it's kind of an unusual situation. And back in 2021, the county authorized the issuance of a $3,365,000 general obligation bond. A couple of purposes. Primary purpose, and we do this every year, was to make a payment on this building. This building was financed through an installment purchase structure. So every year the county goes out and issues a GO bond and makes that payment. And it's usually somewhere in the $365,000, $75,000, $85,000 range. The county at the time council also wanted to have some additional money to fund cost overages and some of the capital sales tax projects. So council back in ordinance 2021-04 authorized the issuance and sale of a $3,365,000 general obligation bond. The only amount of that was issued was the amount to make an installment purchase payment, which is about $365,000. So there is an existing allocation of general obligation embedded in capacity the county has already approved through ordinance of about $3 million. So my recommendation was, rather than go and do a whole new ordinance and all the bells and whistles, let's just go back and amend this current ordinance that is on the books, the 2021 ordinance, to add the projects that y'all have to do. That way we don't have to reinvent the wheel because you've already got an allocation of that borrowing capacity. So what you got in front of you, and Mr. Plain just read the title, you got ordinance number 2023-06, which is an ordinance amending ordinance 2021-04. 2021-04 is the 2021 ordinance. Obviously, it's the thicker one. 2023-06 is the thin one. Basically, 2023-06 simply amends the older ordinance. If you look on page 1, amendment of the original ordinance. We just added a few provisions in there, just to make sure that we've already issued one bond under this authorization. We'll make it clear that we're issuing a second bond. So we tweak the definition of bond instead of being more than one series. And then the real meat of the ordinance is in number 2 on page 1 at the bottom. The final section, section 1.1 has been amended to add a couple of things. Number 1, we'll go ahead and authorize the use of some of those bond proceeds to pay your payment that's due under the installment purchase obligation comes due August 1 of 2023. Then we also added as additional potential improvements that can be funded from the roughly $3 million that's left. Cost requiring constructing and equipping parking lot improvements that I see are starting. We kept in the capital project sales tax cost overruns. I understand maybe some jail items to be funded through that, and then also some animal shelter improvements. So bottom line is this ordinance simply amends the old ordinance to, in effect, add these new improvements to the allocation of money we've already made. Now, what will have to happen at this point is, if this is approved, we'll have 3 readings of this ordinance. The law requires that the bond be sold at a public sale, you have to notice the sale of it, and bids will be received by the county, and bond will be awarded to the local bidder in that sale. So that's what's before you. If you choose to go forward with this, of course, you'll have a public hearing, 2 more readings, and then we'll be in a position to go out and borrow against that pre-existing authorization you put in place back in 2021.
So at this point, we need a motion to do.
This is just information.
As information. Any questions?
Yes, what was the interest rate for the previous authorization?
No interest rate. The interest rate is established sale. So you just authorize the borrower to go out and sell it, and the bank's proposed the interest rate.
So for the one that was authorized in 2021.
The one that was authorized in 2021, don't have that in front of me. What was that 365,000 was borrowed in 2021? It was paid off immediately. It was a short-term rate. I'm sure it was, I can get that to you, Councilman. I'm sure it was a lot lower than rates are now. I can imagine, but the rate for this new borrowing is established. So
I just want to make sure that I'm clear. Public clear. You say there's 3 million capacity to borrow from, but they only borrow in 2021.
they only borrowed 365. Yes, they did not borrow a full 3 million. 365.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And I'll be happy to come back and answer any of the questions you might have in subsequent readings.
As always, it's good to see
Good
you.
to see you.
Thank you for your
Thank
help.
you, and look forward to moving forward with this. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Lee Jenkins. Good to see you, Mr. Jenkins.
It's been seeing all of
Hey,
them,
now.
I know most of them.
Good to see.
For those who don't know me, I've always been active in Marion County. I was the Democratic chair here. I've written over $1 million worth of grant in between Marion and Florence. And I've always been active in the community, but always been in the background. So what I'm presenting now is a couple of projects that I was working on before I became sick. Okay. The first project is the VA is planning on breaking ground for a clinic in Florence. We have a hospital here that was seldom used. I believe if we could talk to the VA about maybe using this hospital instead of breaking ground for a clinic that probably won't be large enough to take care of their patients. It would benefit Marion, it would benefit the VA, Because the hospital could serve as both of the clinics. And also it could serve as a halfway house because of all the rooms upstairs. And if you look at that, it's bringing in jobs like doctors, nurses, CNA. Then they have a cafeteria that they probably have to open up. So you got cafeteria work. You got people cleaning up in there. You're gonna need transportation. All of that could be involved in that if we can get the VA to look at this hospital that's just sitting there, not doing anything. It could benefit the county in a big way. That's project one. Project two was something that I was working with the Port Authority in Charleston. Has to do with farming. I don't know if any of you know, but everything that we grow in our area has iodine. We have an iodine mill, I think, iodine, not a mill, what you call it, in Sidner, outside of Sidner, somewhere, you know. And iodine is what is a cure for thyroid problem and a lot of other things. So whatever plant we grow, that's it. Okay, I did a presentation to the Port Authority. They got me in contact with distributors. Distributors was interested in it. They liked the idea. They set me up for a meeting in a conference in Europe. They wanted me to pay $6,000 to get over there, but they said they were going to take care of everything else, right? So I went to the state. Told the state about it. State liked it, but they wanted me to turn over my contacts to them. Instead of just giving me the money to go, they want to turn over the contacts to them. Now, I have never been considered boo-boo clown. So if I had turned it over to them, it's no guarantee that we would have the access that we need to what is about to happen, right? So this project has to be a good one because the state is interested in it. And all it was taking was you could organize the farmers. You could bring let them know that if you start growing certain crops, and that was the point of me going to Europe, was to find out what crops that they were interested in. And the crops that we grow in this area would be considered a specialty crop. Of course, that would mean that it would cost more, that you get paid more for it. The Port Authority, they have a train that runs through here. The only thing that we were lacking was a freezer zone to store the plant, right? And we had a distributor that was willing to build one. That's how much they enjoyed the idea. They were willing to build a plant if we could get the farmers together to grow certain plants. So those are two projects I brought to you. I didn't bring them to you so that I could do it. I brought it to you that if you're interested in doing it, it can be done. And you know that's money. Any questions?
I have a couple.
Go ahead, Joe.
In terms of the iodine mill and the crops, would you be willing to turn that over to our Marion County Economic Development Director if the county was interested in?
I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. If you need me to make contacts, to work with you to get it together, then I'll do that too. I have no problem with that.
And do you know whether or not the VA clinic is already contracted with the city of Florence to build that clinic?
I don't know. I have a friend that works with them at the time. He said the project was supposed to start and never started, and never began. So
Was it in the city or the county of Florence?
it's in the city of Florence.
Okay.
Mr. Jenkins, I might recommend or that you get with Ms. Watford. And let her disseminate this information to our economic development director. And we appreciate your concern and your help. You know, that's what it takes, people getting involved and. You know, sometimes a little thing to some people can turn into a big thing. So thank you for coming. Has anybody got any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
I give you my card and give me a little.
Thank you.
Ms. Walker, at this time, administrative update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council. At this time, I don't have any administrative updates.
The question, comments by members of council. We need executive session for what is it, a legal matter or a contractual matter or
So personnel.
personnel? All right.
So move.
Motion second, any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Opposed likewise, the ayes have it. Go in executive session. Session. We went in executive session to discuss personnel. No action taken. We need to come out of the executive session. Go
So
back
moved.
into regular session.
So move.
Got a motion? Second, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? The ayes have it. We're now back in open session. We went in executive session for personnel reason. No action was taken. What I hear from council.
I make a motion, we adjourn.